Hi, everybody. My name is Nanika Edwards. Today, I'm really happy to be sharing with you the results of a language experiment that I conducted during the third week of March. It was really meant to be conducted throughout the month of March, like from the beginning to the end of March. But then I compressed it to 2 weeks and then it compressed itself to 1 week, right? Is essentially what happened. And perhaps you might be hearing the dog next door. I cannot control when the dogs in my neighborhood start to bark. So, this is not something. So I hope it won't be too distracting for you. Maybe Maybe that dog is trying to speak the language I'm about to tell you about, which is Haitian Creole. So one of the languages that I tackled during the third week of March was Haitian Creole. And the whole point of this experiment for people who may be looking at this video for the first time is that I wanted to see if I could come to a conversation, if I could come to a conversational level in at least one language during the course of studies that take about a week. And you can check the very first video in this mini series that explains the whole experiment and why I'm doing it and how it came to be and so on. But anyway, during the third week of March 2025, by the way, today is the 2nd of April 2025, and I'll be sharing these videos next week. Next week, the second week of April 2025. Um, anyway, this experiment was conducted during the third week of March 2025. I focused on actually three languages, those being Latin, Haitian Creole, and Brazilian Portuguese. So today I'm going to focus on how things went with Haitian Creole. Excuse me. So the first thing that I should explain is that I decided to do Haitian Creole because I'm from the Caribbean. Learning the languages of the Caribbean is of interest to me. I already speak Spanish, French, English, of course, because English is the mother tongue, or the official language of Trinidad and Tobago, where I grew up. But we speak two forms of English in Trinidad. We speak Standard English and English Creole. So I can speak both. I understand both. With respect to English Creole, I think I can understand more than I can say fluently, but I have grown in fluency over the years, especially over the course of maybe the latter part of my 30s and across my 40s. So I'm now pretty conversant in Creole English, and I definitely understand a lot more. Um, anyway, being from the Caribbean and also being from a place where Creole English is English Creole is a regular part of life. Um, Creoles, Creole forms on other islands are of interest to me, especially French Creole. Now, I'm assuming that the Spanish and Dutch islands of the Caribbean also have their Creole versions. As a matter of fact, I remember my uncle who is fluent in Spanish, actually. Maybe he's the person that I get my language skills from, but he's fluent in Spanish. And I remember him many, decades ago sharing some poetry with me. Oh, what was the name of the poet? I think his name was Pablo Guillen or Roberto Guillen. I forget the name of the poet, but the poet was from, I think, the Caribbean, if I'm not mistaken, or Latin America, maybe the Caribbean. I want to believe he's from the Caribbean. And the poem was actually in what I would call Spanish Creole, right? Espanol Criollo is what I think it was in, because it wasn't in standard Spanish. And for the Dutch islands, I believe that the Creole version of Dutch might be Papiamento, I think, if I'm not mistaken. You can fact check those things and see for yourself, but I believe that all of the islands would probably have their own form of Creole, a Creole form of whatever is the standard language, the official language for those particular islands, for each particular island. Anyway, I have long been interested in French Creole because when I was in between my fifth and my sixth years in high school, like in the August vacation, what we call August vacation, which is really July and August, I went on an exchange. I went on an exchange visit to Guadeloupe, which is one of the French-speaking islands in the Caribbean. They still belong to France, as a matter of fact. But anyway, went to one of the French-speaking islands, Guadeloupe, and for 2 weeks, and lived with a family, from Guadeloupe. And while I was there, hearing everybody speaking French Creole ignited. Yeah, let me just let this maxi taxi pass. That's one of our big vehicles, kind of like a bus, but in between a minibus and a bus is the size of that bus. It's like it's like what Goldilocks might call Mama Bear's bus. But anyway, just passed by. I don't know if you heard it, but anyway, being in Guadeloupe ignited my interest in French Creole. And the mom of the family that I lived with was a wonderful person. I often wonder if, if I go to Guadeloupe, if I would still find her there. I hope I would. I would love to reconnect with that family. I'm no longer in touch with them, but the mom of the family in particular was so kind to me, so wonderful. And I remember her telling me that French Creole is actually very easy to learn. So all of these years, there's just been this, what to call it? I don't know if subliminal is the right word, but there's just been this niggling interest, this interest that I feel in the French Creoles of the Caribbean, and that I've never been able to explore because I don't think I've ever seen anything systematic on YouTube for French Creole, nothing systematic. And so I decided to go for Duolingo French Creole. When I saw that French Creole, not French Creole, but Haitian Creole in particular, is offered by Duolingo, I went for that. I made a dash for that. So, by the way, I should also let you know that that I believe it's Google Translate. Haitian Creole is one of the Creoles that is offered on Google Translate. One of the French Creoles of the Caribbean is offered on Google Translate as a language option. And also, I noticed that on Bible Gateway, which is an online resource where you can find online Bibles, sometimes with audio in different languages online. I believe they have French Creole, Haitian Creole, or one of the Creoles, French Creoles of the Caribbean, right? I don't think at this point that you get audio with either one of those options, but it's just good to know that it's there. Anyway, I decided to start Haitian Creole with Duolingo, and long story short, I have to say at the end of a week where I probably missed only one day because I really tried to stick with the program with Haitian Creole. And at the end of a week, I could say, yes, if you really hunker down and commit maybe a couple hours a day to Haitian Creole, you can become conversant at the end of a week. Because I am single, have neither chick nor child, as we say in Trinidad, but I don't have a husband, don't have a family, don't have kids to see about, but still I have things to do apart from learning languages. So I was not able to devote hours of time to any of the languages that I set out to explore over the course of that week. But needless to say, we're just about somewhere between 30 to 40 minutes a day for about 6 days out of the week, I made progress that I consider very, very satisfying. And so at the end of a week, having done Haitian Creole with Duolingo and their wonderful repetitive approach to language learning, where they constantly repeat vocabulary and sentence patterns, and um, also thanks to the fact that Duolingo uses native speakers as their as the what to call them, as the language mirrors, as the voicing for their lessons, you can pick up the correct intonation and musicality of the language. So one of the things I should say is that heading into French Creole, I expected it to be a little easier for me than for the average person who, say, may not speak French, because just like with Creole, just like with English Creole in Trinidad, that comes out of standard English in a sense, although you have all kinds of other languages mixed in there. I expected that it would be the same with Haitian Creole. And in fact, I was correct, because I learned words like, for example, zami, ooh, I got to change location here. Just one sec. My battery power was running out and I needed to switch rooms to remedy that, to fix that. Anyway, where was I? Yes, I learned many words in Haitian Creole during that week that I really hunkered down and focused on Haitian Creole. I learned many words that reminded me of standard French. For example, zami sounds like ami, which is friend. Zabuka, which we know in Trinidad, sounds like avocat, which is avocado. And we use zabuka in Trini Creole and English Creole here in Trinidad and Tobago when we speak Trini talk or Trini dialect. I learned papa, mama, daddy, mommy, many other words that sound a lot like standard French. So learning with Duolingo was very helpful, and I learned useful sentence patterns. Haven't learned a lot of sentence patterns, but sentence patterns that would allow me, for example, to go to the market in say in Guadeloupe or Martinique or Haitian Creole and say, do you have avocados? Do you have mangoes? Do you have oranges? I can say things like today I have today I eating rice for breakfast, things like that are, somewhat useful. I could have seen myself using some of the sentence patterns that were provided in Duolingo. So, for example, I can say, I am eating I am eating eggs for breakfast, for example. For example, to say that, I would say, moi manger du riz pour manger matin. Moi manger du riz pour moi manger du riz pour manger matin. And du riz is rice, and in French, rice is riz or riz for rice. So they're similar. So knowing French has made learning Haitian Creole much easier for me. But sometimes it can also be challenging knowing French because in terms of sentence patterns, Haitian Creole is not an exact replica of French. Sometimes the sentence pattern is inverted, and for me that can be a little confusing now in the early stages, in the nascent stages of my process and my progress. But that's okay. Usually those things will right themselves eventually. Eventually my brain the circuitry in my brain will adapt and self-adjust so that my mind will eventually disconnect from French when I need to disconnect from French and allow me to become an instinctive speaker of Haitian Creole. So, can you become conversant in Haitian Creole after a week, which is what this experiment was about? I would say yes. I would say yes, you can. So I don't think there's anything that I've left out. Yes, definitely possible to become conversant. So that's it. Um, if I had the time and I had dedicated hours upon hours to learning French Creole within a week, I would be much further along. But considering that I just committed about 30 to 40 minutes a day for 5 days in the week, um, I don't think I could complain about how I've done with Haitian Creole. So that's it. I hope that this was helpful for you. And maybe some of you out there may think, you know what? I speak French. Maybe I should try one of the French Creole dialects of the Caribbean, one of the French Creole languages. Or maybe one of you might think, you know what? I don't speak French, but it might be interesting to explore that language. Sounds interesting. So that's it. I hope that I'm inspiring somebody out there to pick up a language. And by the way, at the end of the week, I will explain what I think is possible for somebody who is monolingual versus somebody who is multilingual or bilingual if you're going to try out this approach like I have. So that's it. Until next time, do be well. And I think the dog next door is also bidding you adieu. I don't know if you can hear him or her. So until next time.